We are back. I hope everyone had a great Mother's Day. Mother's Day is my favorite holiday of the predetermined holidays. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, National Burrito Day. Not the federal holidays per se. Actually Halloween. Halloween, if we can consider. But I don't want to get off sidetrack. But Father's Day should be leave your fathers alone. Let them take their shoes off and watch TV all day. Valentine's Day is an abomination, should be gotten rid of. It's a money grab. And National Burrito Day, you can eat a burrito any day you like, and I hope you do, especially if you live out here in California where you have great burritos. Mother's Day, I go to the LA Flower Mart, get some great collection at a great price. You get a nice gift, a card. Then you go with your family, and you get a really good dinner yourself. You know, I don't go to the fancy places all the time, but look, I got that tower of food. Look at a little sea urchin in there. That was delicious. So I enjoyed it. And you spend time with my wife, my son, beach. Mother's Day is good. Now, today it's a little early for me to do that, the Soccer OG. Make sure you check out the Soccer OG podcast. Got great response to people listening from Eric Winalda. Coming up, Danny Higginbotham, who works for NBC Sports as well as the Philadelphia Union. We'll talk about the topic we are going to talk about now, Jesse Marsch and Christian Pulisic, and a few other things, and about working in the States. So check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. And please like and subscribe us here. And leave comments. I love the comments. If you can see, I respond to a lot of the comments. Not all of them, but I would. Sometimes you get more than others. But comments. We'd love to have a conversation. Today we're going to talk about perhaps the most important development for American soccer, and that is, can Jesse Marsch keep Leeds United up? It's getting hairy after this weekend. He lost to Arsenal 2-1. I mentioned, I think in the last episode, Everton's going to be safe. They have a game in hand. They won again. They're clear. Burnley won a couple games after they parted ways with Sean Dyche. Michael Jackson they lost this weekend to Aston Villa. So what you have, I'll show you the standings. What you have is Burnley and Leeds United tied at points with 3 games to go. And the problem with the standings is if these two teams finish tied, Leeds are going down because Jesse Marsch has been saddled with a cataclysmic goal differential. Marcelo Bielsa, God love him, but when he loses big. Their goal differential is minus 35. Burnley's minus 17. That's not going to be close. So if these two teams win a game and lose 2, which I think is very possible, Burnley. If they both lose all 3 games, Burnley, which could be possible too. Before I get into all the data, I want to tell you why it's important. Because we've already seen Jesse Marsch strip down perception about American coaches. People have been exposed. People making fun of him for having a huddle on the field. And then there's proof like in the past of guys like Phil Brown. And then Gary Neville, an Englishman in the Major League Soccer, he huddled around his players. So that was absurd. So that got knocked down. We don't hear any more Ted Lasso comparisons because he delivered as they had performed pretty well before these 2 games against Manchester City and Arsenal. So Jesse Marsch, before those 2 games, undefeated in 5, 3 wins, 2 ties. Yes, some of those wins were by the skin of his teeth in stoppage time, but they were still wins. And I'll tell you we'll get into the losses as well. But we have this back and forth. We have these conversations on social media, and people want to undermine his victories that happened at the death, and that's not how it works. So he's already stripped down perception because unbeaten in 5. If he does get relegated, it's going to stink. Some of that perception may come back. I don't think too much of it. I think people will respect the job that he's done. A big part Leeds United are just sneaking by here is because Everton and Burnley are getting hot. That's it. Burnley won 2 games. They won a handful of games, and all of a sudden they go bang, bang. Unexpected. So now Leeds United really have to scramble. And I'll tell you the data, and I'll tell you if I think he does it. But it's so important because he will remain. He has a long-term contract, but remain as a Premier League manager. And we've already heard how Leeds United are looking at American investment. Brendan Aronson, who has been one of the big success story, as I've talked in past videos, because I think it was like a $6 million transfer from Philadelphia Union to Red Bull Salzburg. And Major League Soccer, by the way, has to really tighten the belt on this, because this is another one that they're going to be with the short end of the stick, like Alphonso Davies. If Leeds, I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but if Leeds want Brendan Aronson, they're going to have to pay 25, 30 million. And other clubs want Brendan Aronson. But that's what he's moved up to. He's moved to, let's say, 20, 25 million. And in 2 years, from 6 million to 25 million, that's a lot. So, what's the other one? Red Bull Leipzig. I go, you guys are the same club, Salzburg, Leipzig. What's with this transfer fee? So, I don't know. But that's the benefit of being in a network of clubs. But MLS can't be on the short end of the stick, especially in a short amount of time. I think it's 20 million for Brendan. If he is in demand, and there's 2 big clubs that want him. Georgi Mihalovic is another one. So I'm not saying they're both going to end up on Leeds. I would predict one will. If Jesse Marsch stays in the Premier League, an American player probably goes there. If he goes to the Championship as well. So this is why it's huge. The perception gets wiped away. Not wiped away, but certainly changed. Jesse Marsch gets tenure in the Premier League, and it becomes a destination for American players. You'd be crazy not to bring in American players, because you have an advantage if you are Jesse Marsch, because you have that built-in scouting system in the United States where others do not. So you'll see talent first, and we know the pipeline is pumping. I'd like to see Jesus Ferreira over at Leeds. We'll see. I don't want to get too ahead of it. Georgi Mihalovic, I mean, he's the MVP of the league right now. He should be there. So that's why it's important. Now we get into the brass tacks. Can they do it? We'll talk about the games first. I want to mention that, first of all, I live in California, so I'm watching these Leeds games, and this past weekend, it was at 6 a.m., and I'm like watching it. It's not, I can't. And I'm usually doing stuff late at night. This is my Mother's Day shirt. I'm sorry. That's dreadful. Sorry, let's take... There we go, a little more relaxed. Felt very, very stiff, stuffy. So I also watched the Manchester City game. It was a midweek game, and Leeds got thumped. But for an hour, Leeds were hanging in there. They were playing well. So the scoreboard, and people go, "Oh, you got blasted by Man City," which everyone does. But Leeds were, and then even then you see him clapping with the fans, and they get back to him. This weekend against Arsenal, I was impressed as well. This was just a cataclysmic start. 5 minutes, Eddie Nketiah used to play for Leeds, scores a goal, and Meslier had this horrible mistake in the back. Can't blame Jesse Marsch for that. Then Nketiah scores again. Leeds defense ball watching. Then Captain Luke Ayling, 27th minute, horrible challenge. I think it's going to keep him out of the rest of the season if I heard correctly. He's out, so this is Leeds are going to get destroyed. They had to change their tactics a bit, made some subs to get a little more defensive. Then Diego Llorente scores in the 66th minute. And in the 93rd minute, Leeds were this close to tying it. They didn't have a lot of shots. I think they had 2 shots on target. But Jesse Marsch adapted and was competing. And if you can do that with an Arsenal team that's won 4 straight, then you should be able to do that on the run in here. Someone sent this to me about what Jesse Marsch has done in his 9 games. This was a 537 algorithm, and they set a number they expected he would get over 9 games. And he has overperformed by 5 points, which is a lot. So if they thought in 9 games he was going to get 10 points, he's gotten 15. Leeds United is getting some criticism because they're back in the bottom 3. They're in the bottom 3, as I said, because teams got hot. When you lose 2 games to Arsenal and Manchester City and are unbeaten in 5 prior to that, it's kind of cruel that you're there. But this is what happens in relegation scraps. Teams fight for their lives. And that's what makes it so compelling. So whatever happens, and now we have a dog in the fight. And that's a terrible analogy there. I don't want dog fighting. Horse in the race. Horse race. I was watching the Kentucky Derby. It was really incredible. But, you can't help but notice what these horses are put under. They're running down the straight, and you can hear those whips on their backsides. I go, hold off. And the rich people, hey! It was like an 80-1 underdog. It was pretty cool. He came in on the wire. And those horses do like to race. There's no doubt about it. But anyway, again, off topic here. So with Leeds United, they're in this predicament. They're going to have to fight. So let's break it down here quickly. 3 games for Leeds, 3 games for Burnley. Leeds have Chelsea at home, Brighton at home. They travel to Brentford. Sounds agreeable. Brighton's an elite team, unfortunately, now. That's like playing a top 4 team. They're playing that well, and they just blew the doors off of Manchester United. They blew the doors off Arsenal. That's a club that has, they feel like Leicester without the Premier League title. They feel like they're going to be here for a long time. Remember, they signed Moises Caicedo, and now they're playing him, and his value is going. They're just good with player acquisitions and development. So that's tricky. Burnley have at Spurs, at Villa. They just lost to Villa, so they played Villa twice down the stretch here. And then at home to Newcastle. Burnley has it a little bit easier, I think we could safely say. Leeds playing Chelsea. Chelsea looks broken right now, and I think all the Roman Abramovich, the new owners are there, all the Roman Abramovich sanctions have really hit this club hard. Chelsea should still beat Leeds, but that's not the same Chelsea team from a month or 2 ago. They are really laboring, and maybe some players are checked out. They have really nothing to play for. They're going to finish in 3rd place. 2 home games. Burnley has 1 home game. That's an important detail. Burnley at Spurs. Spurs still fighting, and it's good that they're playing Spurs this first weekend, this next game, because Arsenal could be out of reach of Spurs by the second game. But Spurs still have a lot to play for. So Burnley, I think, lose that one. At Villa, they just got thumped by Villa at home. Probably lose that one. Probably get something out of the Newcastle home game. So let's say they win that game, they get 3 points. So as I showed you in the standings, if Burnley gets 3 points, Leeds have to get more than 3. The goal differential. Leeds, home Chelsea, Leeds, Brighton. I think out of those 2 home games, you get 3 points. You win one of them. Maybe you get 4 points, and that'll do the job. But the Brentford game, look, if they can hang with Arsenal on the road, they can certainly hang with Brentford. And Brentford's had a great campaign, but maybe they're kind of, all right, they're not going to have all that to play for, right? Leeds are going to come out gangbusters in that final game, just like Burnley against Newcastle. I think they both could put themselves in position. It'd be good if Leeds get their noses out in front before that final weekend, because then you can survey the landscape, see what you need. Maybe you don't need to win a game. Maybe a point is enough. Get my drift. And I think Leeds can get there. So looking at the 2, and again, Everton's out of reach. Watford and Norwich are relegated. I feel confident that Jesse Marsch can get this done. This week, everyone kind of throwing dirt on it. And everyone's throwing dirt on Jesse Marsch, and that's fine. But look at what we're talking about. Burnley. We're talking about Burnley. Hard-working team, but void of stars. They've sold some players in this build-up. Leeds are a more talented team, although they have some major injury issues. And, Liam Cooper, if they can get him back, or obviously Ayling, we'll have more details on that. That's the problem for Leeds. But the 2 home games favors them, and I think they end up with 4 points. They finish 1 point ahead of Burnley, and they stay up. And Jesse Marsch gets a full season in charge of the Premier League, and Leeds will make some alterations because they do have an ownership. Everyone's ambitious now, but they have some things in play here. Jesse Marsch gets there, brings an American player to Leeds. Here we go. So, American soccer fans, this is important. This is important for the development of American coaching, because something that didn't exist before could exist. Jesse Marsch rescued Leeds United, one of the biggest, most popular clubs in England, and kept them up in a very dire situation. The next coach, it's going to be easier for them. Whoever that next coach is, and I have a couple good names I think that are out there. Whoever that is, it's going to be easier for them. And the network opens up and our sport gets better. It's great to have players. It's great to have players. But coaches and that know-how, I almost put it almost at a level point. That's how important it is. And that's the huge job on Jesse Marsch right now. So Jesse, I know you're not watching. I know Jesse pretty well though. He has treated me like a rock star. That's part of the reason I'm so far behind him, because he is a fantastic dude who worked his tail off and I saw it. Maybe he is watching. Maybe he's bored and watching YouTube. G'day, mate. That's I don't even know Australian. That was absurd. But sleep well. And it looks like he's got this under his fingertips. It's good. The Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast. We'll be back here next week. We're going to break down the possible June roster for the U.S. men's national team. What a great time.